All right, good evening, everyone. This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. We're going to be starting the live stream, covering what's going on today. And let's go ahead and do our normal routine of tweeting it and doing all that jazz. All right. Jerry, on top of things. Same with Yuspoo. You guys all have the same timestamps. BC and Hunter, all there. Good job, guys. Yeah, you guys tied again. Sorry, I started a little bit later than normal. My kids had... I'm putting the kids to bed by myself. Normally, my wife and I put them to bed, and each one of us does one of them. But she is out at a work function right now, so I am doing it solo. So I had put down my boy first, and he's the youngest. And then I was reading some books to my daughter, who's going to kindergarten. She had a bunch of questions. And now she wants to start her own YouTube, doing makeup tutorials. And she's 4 years old. I'm like, no. No, honey. Sweet, but no. She's like, well, I want to make money. And I'm like, you don't make that much money. You don't. What's up, Jason? What's up, Goat? All right, so let's go ahead, copy this. I don't have a huge Twitter following. I don't really tweet that much. It only is just because I'm linked to Reddit that I ever tweet anything, but... Let's go ahead and do my best to try to at least do my part, since I was not able to get the video done today. Nightly live stream. And then hashtag ATER. I don't know. Hi, Dad. Hi, Matt. How are you? What's up, Spencer? What's up, Craig? What's up, man? Earthium? Moonsoon? Maybe. I'm looking at this MACD, and it looks like it's going to be crossing over probably by next week. So that will be interesting to see what happens, because you can already see, on the stochastic, they already moved over, and they're starting to move up. Even though we're not making huge moves on the price, you can see that there's actually some bullish movement going. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. Reviewing kids' toys make bank, like that Ryan kid. Yeah, but you know what? I don't know. I always have that feeling, like, bad feeling in the back of my, like, am I gonna mess my kid up by letting them become like a YouTube? She's got a great personality, and she'd probably have fun doing it. But I'm also like, am I exploiting my kid? Like, she really wants to put out those makeup tutorials, but like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, at this point right now, and Lily, that's her name. She. If you ever watch these one day, honey, I love you very much, but when you're 4 years old putting on makeup, you kind of usually look like a clown. Yeah. Have you seen some of the Twitter accounts pumping ATER? No, I have not. That's weird. Yeah, here's my thing. Like, I know there's bots out there, and I know, like, some people will invest in, and then they'll, put out a bunch of spam accounts. I've never been that camp. Like, I'll put up DD, and then I'll leave it at that. And, like, I haven't put out a DD in a week yet, because I'm trying to basically write up this big, like, long, I'm trying to do it right. I'm trying to put out information that's helpful long-term on this stock. Not just, like, this is another short squeeze. I'm trying to get into the fundamentals and get all the numbers correct. And the numbers, constantly are changing. And then we're trying to get Fintel to actually, like, listen to us and say, listen, Tyrion gave us all these numbers as of March 31st. I'm not sure what your system is, but can you please at least take a look at this? Because we're getting these numbers directly from the company. So, I think some of you saw my comment. Yeah, but I can't bring, like, we've always felt, my wife and I, because, like, my daughter is, beautiful young lady, and, my kids are cute, I think. Like, we've literally had people approach us about, like, they're like, have you thought about putting her in, like, a, modeling? And I'm like, no, like, that seems weird to me. I don't know. I feel like that's how you end up with, like, those kids who are, like, like Justin Bieber's when they're, like, in their teens, and, like, I'm sure they all turn out eventually okay, with years of therapy, but, I don't know. It seems weird to me. But she was, like, crying. She's like, why won't you let me do it? And I'm like, because you're 4, and there's, like, I didn't want to be like, there's bad people out there, and they could be, like, it just, that, yeah. But Jason's planning to add another 300 shares this week. Are we still in the loading zone? Yep, this green box right here, this is all the loading zone. And then once it gets above that, that's when things usually get a little spicy. So, all right. Worst case scenario, all short stocks will squeeze after GameStop. Yeah, I mean, that's possible, because if the same people are shorting all these stocks, then if they get margin called, then yeah, everything flies. What do I think about the movement today, Anon? It was mainly just moving up just because the SPY did. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that being a possible thing. So, I mean, the SPY was moving up, and remember, we bled, like, over time when the SPY was moving down, and now the SPY was flying up, and we just slowly kind of moved up. And so, was it algorithmic trading? Probably. They were probably just, like, keeping it a slow climb, and every once in a while it looked like shorts try to push us down just that we didn't get, like, running. That's kind of what I saw. Checked in, swagged out, all rocked up. Good stuff. All right. I'm going to throw in some weird hashtags I've never done before. Fintel. Let's see if that brings in any extra people. Okay, so there's that. Do need to go up here and announce to, I guess, the Discord, because we don't have that many people in here. All right. Let me see. I've been finding some weird thing going on, which is I've been told, I guess, when I put out these videos that, like, some of them are not able to be monetized because of, like, I don't know if it's language or if it's, like, the porn bots, if we don't remove them or whatever it is, but, like, thought that was a bit weird. All right, so we got that going. Now we need to put it out for the Discord, and then we should be able to get rolling. And then I'll catch up to the chat and hopefully not get too far away from it. That's right, I didn't turn on the Discord down here. Let me turn on the Discord real quick. I got all behind because my kids and all that. All right. Let's see what's going on here. I guess maybe I should be doing this in the right spots, right? Anon's YouTube. I'll do the @everyone. Okay, there we go. Publish. Let's make sure there's nothing going on. Okay, so let's see. Can we expect anything from the investor conference next week? My guess would be probably nothing like major. They're not gonna. It's possible somebody asks them a good question and then they answer. That might be good things, but there was not a lot of market maker manipulation today. It's like it's like when a woman's quiet. It's freaking me out. Yeah, I mean, today was pretty much, I think, a day where they might have been just slowly, like, I don't, just, I'm just got to bite the bullet because it's a pain in the butt not having Ortex at my fingertips. I canceled them because I was, like, not happy with, their data unreliability, but they make it just so simple to, like, just glance at something and have, like, a rough estimate. And plus, that's what other people look at. So when people now are like, well, did you see Ortex? I'm like, no. And now I have to, like, go find somebody's screenshot. And it's a bit of, a pain. So. All right, let's see. Does anyone have Ortex that they can DM me? And then I'll at least take a look at it. But yeah, it's like, so we basically, let's go to the 1 minute or 5 minute, but either one. The only thing that sucks is with this stupid loading zone, it makes it harder to see on here. Maybe we'll just break it down on this one. Go to the 1 minute. Okay. That's better. So let's just take a look at today. Yeah, I mean, it was honestly just kind of the slow climb, down, slow climb, but we're just in a channel up. Got to this peak right here of like 340. This is where I think they actually shorted. Like, each time of these, this was probably just like algorithmic, but this one, it actually looked like they were trying to get it down below VWAP. They got it below VWAP, and that's where it finished. So, what's the VWAP, right? No, it's a super simple moving average. Do I not have VWAP on this for some reason? Hold on. Oh, I don't. That's weird. I need to get my stuff together on this one. Here's VWAP. Oh, I didn't do it. Here. Now we can do it. Alright. Here's VWAP. So, yeah, they pushed it down here and then it just popped back up, and that's where we finished, basically, like, riding VWAP. So, like, if you look at this, we go up, we basically touch VWAP, touch VWAP, touch VWAP. We didn't actually touch these, but they were close enough. And so, like, it seemed like all it was doing today was just kind of, every time we got the VWAP, it would just bounce off and just stay in that, like, tiny bit above it. This was, like, the only times they got away a little bit, and you see the shorting afterwards. And shorting. Like, anytime it would get a little bit too out of the way, it would be brought down by probably, like, shorting algorithms. Or, somebody just was choosing when they are, selling. But either way, I mean, we're just like in a slow ascent right now. Yeah, but it is weird. Obviously, GameStop was much more volatile. And GameStop had their own problems. So in the morning they ran, right? They got absolutely, like, nailed down here. And then this was interesting right here. Every single time they got up to this peak right here, right? They couldn't get over it, and they attempted it multiple times. Like, they fell through the VWAP. They were basically going up here. It couldn't get to out there. It bounced off it twice. Came back for a third time. It was trying to get to a fourth time, but it seems like any time they get past this, like, 331 to 333 marker, like, anywhere in this range, they couldn't get through it. There wasn't enough volume. Like, and they tried. I mean, you can see there's buying pressure here, pretty big bars, and they could not get it above there. And my guess would be it's because if you look at the GameStop options chains, there is a good amount of 330s that are, like, stacked up in open interest. And so for them, their goal is going to be trying to make sure they keep this thing under 330, or else it could run a gamma squeeze. So, obviously, now we're talking about GameStop all the time, but I just wanted you guys to know. Back to Aterian. So, for us, we basically were just riding VWAP on the upside. So that's, not a bad thing. But it was just a slow day. Like, we didn't have a ton of volume. What do we have for today? It was like 3 million, maybe, not even. Let's see. What do we have? It was 4.77. Okay. So. What's VWAP? What was it? Volume weighted average price is what it stands for. And then if you want an actual definition for it, like, VWAP is basically like a very important indicator, in my opinion, because it always seems to come back. No matter how far you run, you always come back to VWAP at some point. Let's go. This one's not as easy to see, so we'll go back to here. All right. So this purple line right here is VWAP, right? So in this case for us, this is like a reference point, and it moves along with the stock. And what you'll see is when it gets stretched, right, usually it will turn back to it at some point. So if you have like even like with things that run like super hard, right? So let's pull up what ran recently. GameStop, right, and Redbox. So this purple line, right, even though the stock's running up above it, right, at some points it usually likes to come back to test it just to make sure. You know, and it gets dragged up with everything else, right? So if the stock flies up like this, right, the VWAP gets pulled up with it. It's, you know, it's a weighted it's a wave to, and then look at this. So we get pulled up here, right? We cut through it, and then from here it acts as a resistance, basically, right, for GameStop. On ours, Tyrion, we have it pull up here, and then we basically are riding it along here for the most part. We finish up over the day, which pulls it up slightly. We have these couple of spikes, brings it all out of whack. But then we start today, pull it up, and then every single time it basically just bounced off it. So it's a reference point basically a lot of times for, you know, things usually don't go too far away from it without returning to it at some point. So it's good basically like if you see a stock that flies straight up. Let's see. Redbox was pretty aggressive, wasn't it? All right, so the VWAP down here was sitting at around $6, right? And then this morning it opened up and got up to like 8. Now look, as soon as you came through and it cut through VWAP, now it's been riding below it. All right. Oh, he's got Ortex. Thanks there, Beep Beep 2. I like the name. All right. Let me open this up for you guys so we can take a look at it. All right. So they are. Here we go. So utilization is still at 100%. Cost to borrow has risen, right? That's the current one is about 122, or is it in the 80s? I can't remember. I know it was. According to Fintel, let me pull up Fintel real quick too, so we have all of it together, so we can kind of compare notes. I thought it was in the 80s, but sometimes they have it up here as an average. All right, so insider, no, short interest. Here we go. They were listing cost to borrow at 94 now. So, Ortex always has like off numbers sometimes, which is why I canceled it. But now it's been a pain not like being able to just kind of reference it and show things. All right, so we still have about 50% of the free float on flown. We've talked about this before. What are they using as beep 2? Are you able to pull me? I think it's under when you first type in the name. When you have like that main category, I think it's called like overview. On that first one, it should tell you the free float in there. Can you screenshot that and send it to me? That'd be great. Thanks so much. So anyway, I want to see what they're using for the free float estimate, because obviously that matters, because the current run right now was 10.42, right? Was the reported the reported shorts. But once again, wanted to kind of go over this because a lot of people had questions about how this works. Oh, here we go. They are using 30 million right now as the free float shares. Yeah, I don't think that's right. So I think Ortex's numbers are off, because if we pull up my spreadsheet, which I maintain for the most part pretty much every day. I didn't do it today, but I don't think anything really changed that I saw. All right. So they're listing, let me open this so you guys can see. They're listing it at 30 million.09, right? I have the free float at, well, it's not too far off. I've got at 29 right now, because I think we used the official numbers from Aterian. And then, all right, so it's not that far off. So I've got 35% right now. And what did they use? They used 33. So it's not too far off. Yeah, so let's go through this part right here. So utilization, right? That's, when you have 100% utilization, it means that there are pretty much not a lot of stocks out there available, right? However, if we look at, I didn't do the last couple days. I think this is outdated, but just to show you guys. So let's pull up the answer to this, which is how many days since March 8th. 79 days is now here. So I'll go ahead and update that. By the time it's going to be tomorrow, I'll put 80 in. So 80 days, it's been 100% utilization. The only one that I know that's longer than that is GameStop, and GameStop's been 100% utilization since February 8th, which is 30 days longer than us. So GameStop's at 120 days, roughly. Is that right? No, 110 days at 100% utilization. And you guys see what's going on with GameStop, right? Like, GameStop had that nice little run, right? So GameStop, I guess, how many days ago was it? Oh, wait, that's 2 days, right? So in the last 2 days, it went from basically like 90s to all the way up to 150, which is a nice move. That's like what, like a 50% move? Now, obviously, it's sitting here right now in the 130s, but that's still a nice move. So, they eventually got their due, right? They were 100% utilization for a long time, which is 30 days longer than us right now. But they've gotten some movement now, and I don't think it's going to be too long until we eventually get some movement too, because that's a lot of days at 100% utilization. Even though they're still obviously shorting a lot. They haven't been recently, but I was going to say, I think they want to close their position, is my guess. You can see they're starting to actually try to do it, and they're trying to make sure they do it without causing any spikes, or else the Tyrion would run. But they do need to cover another 10 million shares right now. So, I mean, that's quite a lot if you think about it. The aggregate short exchange volume right now is about 1 billion. And the total volume across Aterian, which is at 100% utilization since March 8th, has been about 1.3 something, like 3.5 now, probably is my guess. So in the last 80 days, essentially, we've traded 1.35 billion roughly on a stock that basically is at 100% utilization, and the float's only like 29 million. That's a lot. You guys realize that? This is like highly abnormal. So, all right. Travis says, give our man a honey lemon drop cough drop. I do have them upstairs. What's up, Nabil? What's up? Is it Knifus? Knifus? Hey, Anon, can you share your thoughts on the DTC? Wanted to hear your 2 cents. You're talking about days to cover? Yeah, I mean, we can cover that real quick. I think it's, where's that? Here we go. Okay. So right here, right? Your days to cover, right? Yeah, so that's not right. I can tell you that right now. So I based off our volume recently, they're trying to say that they think that somehow you would cover 10 million shares in less than 1 day. That doesn't make sense. If you bought 10 million shares in a single day, you think the price, it would only take 1 day to cover? Yeah, it's just that's not correct. Or Texas numbers are all jacked up is what I can tell you right now. Like I don't think this is correct at all. Like when we were sitting there and doing 150 million in volume, yeah, this number could have been made sense back then. But like that amount in 1 day, yeah, that's not going to happen. So somewhere they've got some math that's doing wonky things. Matt says, when we moon, I'll pay for your Ortex. Thanks, bud. All right. Just Investor says, hello. What's up? Buy more now? Yeah. All right. How's your red box position? I never had one. I told people red box is going to move, and then it's going to hit warrants, and then it's going to dump. Like I've got all my I've got most of my cash right now in Aterian. Like the stuff that I had in cash, I've been moving into Aterian. I missed an entry though, so I did add a small BBBY position, and I've got another one that I'm looking at, but I'm still researching it. And I should be able to tell people, but yeah, I mean I tried to buy puts on Redbox, but they don't have any, and then I tried to short it, and then they said there was none available to short. So when it ran up to 11, I was like, this is free money, and I was trying to short it, and then they wouldn't let me. I was like, yeah, 100% utilization just means that there are not a lot of shares available. Like, it's very, very hard. Like, all the shares are basically out and accounted for. Like, they don't have them laying around. Do you think there's a reason why your brokers are begging you to lend out your shares? Like, literally, I've gotten multiple requests for me to have my shares lent out. Like, no joke, multiple requests from multiple different brokers because I've stock in a bunch of stuff. Like, I have Fidelity, I have TD, I have Robinhood, I have Webull. I only have those last two mainly because I like how Webull presents the data when I stream because I think it's cleaner. And I think it's just simpler for a lot of people to look at because there's actually a visualization of the level 2 versus watching TD's boxes there, just not as clean. And then I think then the only reason I had Robinhood was because at the time Robinhood was it looked nice, it was easy to use, but I noticed when I first got it, I was like, oh, the execution's horrible. I couldn't get fills on calls, and I'm like, this is a trash stock broker. I'm just gonna get off it. And then Robinhood happened, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to basically close out this account. But I kept them for one reason, which was I wanted to have all the records that I had, because I did have GameStop in Robinhood, so I figured I'm going to keep it as long as there's no money in it. It's just, and they made me close the account, but I want the record of like how much money they screwed me out of on that trade. So, but yeah, 100% utilization for that length of time means that there are no shares, but yet they're somehow finding shares everywhere. And that's very evident because what I've been seeing a lot is I've been seeing stuff that doesn't make sense. And I'll kind of get into those probably next week. I've got a DD that I'm writing up that I think is pretty like, I need to make sure all my facts are right, though, before I release it, because it's going to have to do with like something that I can verify. So I need to verify that the information I'm seeing is correct from, because these third parties, like, you know, if you assumed everything on Ortex and everything on Fintel is correct, and they always get it right and never make mistakes, you'd be very wrong. So, but yeah, I should be able to do that. Is it realistic to expect a potential squeeze with a severe market crash and recession imminent? What would contribute to a sudden increase in volume? A margin call. You could also have. So my guess would be Tyrion right now wouldn't cause a margin call. It's not big enough. But if somebody was short multiple different stocks and a margin call happened on them, that would set off the catalyst of like everything they shorted basically would have to get closed out. And they would have to unwind that. And if one firm goes, then another firm goes. This is how these like dominoes fall. That's what happened with GameStop last time. So GameStop, it wasn't just because, you know, the retail FOMO'd in, because they can control the price for the most part. The problem was once the price started to increase and they couldn't short anymore because there was like no available shares, and the shares started getting expensive to borrow, some of these guys didn't meet margin requirements. So the smaller guys started getting, you know, we're talking about like the small like family firms started first, and they started like failing their margin requirements. So they got margin called, which means that the broker that they're, or not broker, but like whoever lent them their shares, whether it be a broker or a bank or whoever, said, listen, you can't meet collateral requirements, we're closing your position for you. So they're forced liquidations. It means that they don't have a choice. That if they don't have the money to put up, then they get, the bank just says, or the broker goes, we're closing these. So they basically then buy back the shares at any price possible. Just, and they don't care. They're not going to try to get their, you know, these guys the best price possible. They just want to get their money as soon as possible because they're putting themselves at risk, letting these shorts go that long. So, you know, that's what can happen is, you know, if the small guys go first, and the reason why you saw Citadel and 0.72, or is this 0.720 or something that's called, or 720 or 72 or something like that. The reason why you saw them step in was because all those margin calls were about to make them get margin called. Like Citadel and 0.72 were about to get margin called because now all of a sudden the stock was sitting there in the 200s, 300s, 400s. And if you notice, the entire stock market was crashing when GameStop was running. It's because all those guys had to like take out basically, like they had to liquidate their long positions because GameStop was about to like make them go into like, you know, be liquidated also. And that would mean they would liquidate all their long positions and make them cover those shares at whatever price possible, which is why they shut down GameStop, because that would have put out a whole bunch of brokers and put out a whole bunch of hedge, just, you know, they protected their own. That's why retail is so upset, because they basically had it right. They did everything they were supposed to right, and then the other side cheated. So yeah, you can have literally a market crashing around you and you are going up. That happened with GameStop. So here's the thing, like the short interest, all this stuff doesn't care about fundamentals. If somebody's getting like, if someone's getting margin called because they failed to meet margin requirements, the stock will fly. So yeah, like Sure. Would it make sense that, like fundamentals should drive everything? Sure. But that's not how the stock market works. The stock market is all about control, and the big guys control pretty much everything. Like when 90 to 95% of retail trades don't go through an lit exchange, that means you don't have a say. It's kind of like, that like, remember Maggie Simpson had that like pretend steering wheel that she would sit there and do the beep beep in the intro? That's retail. We come on here and we buy our shares, and if you're not going through a lit exchange, whenever you buy something, you're not actually contributing to like buy pressure. All you're doing is eventually they have to deal with the FTD down the line if they don't feel like buying it right then. But like there's a million loopholes that they get around with not actually making your stuff count. So, all right. So if ATER moves upwards, we are really waiting for shorts to cover and the market to go down to force them to cover. So once again, it all depends, Spooner. Like if somebody gets liquidated, like say someone's short GameStop, right? And GameStop runs to like $300-400, right? All of a sudden, if the smaller guys get margin called at that point, that means that if they were also short, for example, who knows, like BBIG, ATER, like Prog, like all these different stocks that they've been short on, and they're getting liquidated, they would have to close all those positions. And so if the smaller ones go like that, then eventually it puts pressure on the bigger ones to close. And so that's kind of the domino effect. And that's why there's so many people right now kind of like, especially the smart money, they're all worried. They're all worried that somebody's over leveraged, that they're going to take down the entire market. And if you look today at the SPY was doing crazy things, right? Like SPY just started running, right? I mean, I want you guys to just think about this. Let's go with the hour, right? So we've been in this constant downtrend, just bleeding off, right? And then all of a sudden, right here at this pivot point, we just start running. And since then, we're just moving up. And these are large swings. We're talking about going from basically 380 to 410. That's huge. That's like trillions of dollars, it seems like, because you're dealing with S&P 500 stuff. We're talking about like market caps that are like $1 trillion, like Apple, Amazon. Like these huge swings are like billions of dollars flying up right now. Like that's not a joke. Like when you see the SPY making a move, like this may take normally like this run right here when we were back here in this like bull market. That run from where were we at? That's 410. I just want to show you. I have to go back. Where are we at? 380. Jeez. I have to go to the daily. So 380, right? Was it 380? That's where we're at? 380 is like roughly here. Right? 375, let's see. So 380. That was from January to 410, right? So 380 right here was January 1st. And for us to get to 410, it took us here. It took us 4 months, right, to climb from 380 to 410. 4 straight months, right? We just did that same move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So 1 week, we made the same move that took 4 months to do. This is a wild market right now. So I just want you guys to think about that. It took us 4 months to make that move before, and we did it in a week. From 380 to 410, 1 week. Like, and we may see 420s, and then it may reverse down and go even farther. We may take a huge red candle down and cut back into these, like this area. And what I'm telling you right now is I think we're going to fill these gaps. These gaps that are sitting here at, was it here, this was the election cycle. So if I drew this line across, I want drawing, and I want, we'll just make a, right, is this where the gaps were, roughly? Right there. I think we're going to see something like this. We go straight down for a while. We make this massive rally up. We may touch 420s at some point, and then we're just going to head right down into this area. It may chop once or twice but in between there, but that's what I think. Because gaps like to fill, right? And there was this massive, and I will always remember this because I was actually heavy on puts and UVXY and all these things because I was convinced we had this nice little bear run. It popped up here and I reshorted right here. It didn't short, but like I bought puts in bearish positions here and I was going really, really well until all of a sudden this is the election and it just gapped up every single day for like, it felt like, I think it was like 10 straight days it gapped up, leaving small gaps. So I will always remember that because to me, I know that that's at some point going to fill because that's recent enough that's going to get tested again. I didn't think we were going to get this high, to be honest with you, before we started heading down again. I thought they were going to do quantitative easing and quantitative tightening sometime back in like end of last year, and they just kept going. And I'm like, you guys should have done this months ago, but so. If Ortex short interest data sourced by the world's largest combined pool, which is 70K pools of liquidity of lender agents, prime brokers, who submits their inventory? Who submit their inventory? I mean, I would guess the exchanges would. As per Ortex, I interpret this as self-reported by the brokers and market makers. I mean, they probably pay for the data. So that's, Jason, how it typically works. If you want access to like the best data, you pay for it. That's why the big institutions get the best information, which gives them an edge over retail investors. It's the reason why Bloomberg's cost $20K a month, and most retail investors can't afford that. So, but we do have some people that have access to Bloomberg's that are in our group, and they do tell us kind of what's going on, which is nice. I like the abnormal part the best. What's up, everybody? What's up, Jamie? What's up, Vlad? What's up, Fish? Ortex is whack. Seems suspect if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, I had arguments with Ortex in the past, and that leaves another bad taste in my mouth. So when the whole, on Aterian, when the whole dilution happened last year, I contacted investor relations and I had them walk me through their basically what happened was, they obviously breached that contract. They had a trailing EBITDA that they were not allowed to, go under a certain number for like cash and for, and they violated that. And then I had them walk me through. So I actually talked to investor relations and had them give me the numbers. And then Ortex kept reporting wrong numbers. And I'm like, I just wrote you guys and said I spoke to the investor relations and you guys have wrong numbers. And they were like, no, our numbers are correct. And then finally, after like a week, they apologized. Some of you guys might remember this. They apologized for their mistake and they said it's very complicated, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I told you guys this and like wrote a DD about it like weeks ago and told you guys were wrong. And they basically turned their nose up at me. And then it turned out I was right. And I'm like, yeah, but like a bunch of people sold during that period because Ortex had the wrong information. They couldn't figure out why the short interest was going down when, it was, once again, that's why one of the reasons I canceled Ortex. I mean, I was borrowing my friends, but then somebody gave me access to theirs for a little bit. And I'm like, I don't want to even use it. Like, Knifus, I have looked into that. Yeah, but I was going to say I'll talk to you guys about that in a little bit, but I want to do some research on it because it's like one of those things where it's like, is that too good to be true? So TD sent me a email today. Jonathan says, sign up to lend shares. Yeah, like Aterian, they want your Aterian shares to lend out. Like if you're cash only, or if you're like, you know, you have lending disabled or whatever the reason, TD, like all these brokerages want your shares. They want to lend them out. They want to make money on them. They're willing to quote unquote give you money for lending them out, but it's hurting obviously you if you're a long-term holder. If you're looking for a squeeze and all your shares are being lent out against you. So, yeah, nobody should rely on one source of data. I always check Ortex and see if it matches Fintel. Yeah, I mean, like, I typically, I do my own, and then I compare it against theirs to make sure they're correct. So, when do you think the warrants will come up on Redbox? I think the warrant, I did this before. I wrote up something, but I think, if I remember correctly, warrants are at like 11 something. So, that's where I would be. If once it gets even closer there, I'd be bailing. That's, What was this about Fintel tweeting ATER stuff? Yeah, I think they wrote something up. They wrote like an article, and they also, I think it was on Twitter. I don't know. I don't follow them, but Fintel. Yeah, so here it is. I don't think it shows anything too, but like, here, I'll like it and retweet it. But like, meme stock, Reddit darling, Aterian tops the retail accumulation list last week. And then links to their article. So, yeah, they actually tweeted about it. I'm hoping people remove the porn bots. I'm behind on my messages tonight, so. Oh, good. Chris did it. Thanks, Chris. All right. 420. Are you saying like 420 friendly, or what are you saying there? Oh, what do you think the fair market value is? Sorry, and you said 420. I think as of the last balance sheet, it was like 323 or 324 roughly, based off the balance sheet. But fair is different than book value. Book value was 323. Fair market value is probably closer to like, I would say probably 5 or 6. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. You need to be very careful about Redbox because it's already up a good amount, and the warrants are up there, and you've seen what happens before once it runs up there. You might get like a $2 swing before it completely dumps on you. So just be very, very careful about that. Yeah, so Aterian right now is the number one most purchased stock that they're tracking, something like that. So Rich is saying, "What's up? What's up, Rich? What's up, SNS? What's up, Chris Cage?" Yeah, my thumbs. All right. Yo, there's Donkey from the Cord. Yeah, he was on Twitter. What's your prediction for tomorrow's price? So yeah, we've been kind of going up over the last 2 days, and so what I think with the Tyrion is going to probably happen is I don't think these guys want it over 350. They would love to have it under 3, from what I saw in the options. So, because I remember telling a bunch of people there's always max pain, but then there's like max pain for retail, and I find that whatever max pain for retail is, that's where the number usually ends up. So. What's up, Hustle? All right, let's see what we got. What's up, right? Is it Raid? Raid Pistola. Thanks for all the hard work, Devil Dog. Are you a Marine also, Raid? If so, Evra. All right, let's see. What do we got here? All right. Yeah, I can look up that in a second, Chris. I just wanted to look up the options chains real quick because I do want to see where I think they're going to place this. Because usually I've been pretty good about placing max pain on a Tyrion. I usually can basically tell you where they're going to put it because wherever they're going to burn the most retail, that's where they're going to end up putting a Aterian. So let me do that. Let me get this going. Pull up here. We'll take a screenshot of it. Yeah, I mean, there's no way they're going to let this finish over 350 unless we get volume. If we're this, 4 million in volume or whatever it is, that's not going to cut it to get us over that hump. If we all of a sudden got like 10 million, 15 million in volume out of nowhere, we'd have a shot getting over that. But like, if we're sitting here at like 3-4 million, and we're probably not going to break over that because, in fact, they'll probably try to push it down under 3. That would be my guess where they're going to shoot for it. I know, I'm here to just tell you guys information. I'm not here to tell you how to invest or, I'm not going to sugarcoat everything. Like if things don't look good, I'm going to tell you they don't look good. That's just how I operate. Okay, so let's pull this over so you guys can see real quick. All right, can we make pretty colors here to make you guys see what's going on? I mean, where is... Oh, I already messed it up. All right. So there. So now we're doing green for in the money. And we're doing red for burned. This one's still green. Red for burned. Okay. So, the highest amount of open interest right now is these 350s. And I don't have option sweep. I probably should get one. I think that's going to be on my list of tools to acquire. So I'll do that. I'll get some sort of option scanner at some point, or if somebody ever stumbles across somebody that has one, I'm happy to be sponsored by an options scanner group that can. I did have somebody, I think, was it Cheddar Flow? They did DM me and they wanted to talk to me, but they didn't offer me, their service. So I think I told you guys, I got contacted by that one group, and I basically just threw it out there. I was like, they do have at least free like dark pool data, and they do have free options flow if you sign up with them and deposit $1 in the account. And I think they also had a free TradeView chart integration for their software. He described it as they're like Thinkorswim, but other people said that they were not impressed by the company, so I just left it at that. But maybe I'll sign up with $1 and see if what their at least their platform looks like, because it's not going to hurt me anything. I'll be honest, I wouldn't trade out of them, but I'd use their like software if it's like free options flow and free dark pool data. It's not a bad thing to have. So, but yeah, I was gonna say I told everyone here I'd always be transparent with the Discord. You can ask the mods. I always, before we even add new mods, I always say, what do you guys think about these people? And then we vote them in as a group. I don't make decisions on my own. And so I asked the entire group, what do you think of this deal? And most of them were like, yeah, no. I was like, all right, cool. That's it. End of discussion. So I won't sell out. I'm not going to charge anything either for the Discord. I want it to be open for everyone to learn and do all that stuff. So the people were like, you got to make it at least $1 so you keep the bots out. But the only thing I hate about the bots is whenever they spam then all my things collapse on Discord. All the things open up and they have a new highlighted thing. Even though they get deleted by the mods, then I have to like reclose them all on Discord. It's really a pain in the butt. So I don't like that. It's a pain. So all right, let's look at the highest groups of open interest. So right here, this looks like this is probably the highest, followed by right here. So what I would expect to happen, and I'm just big dumb Marine, so let's see. But I would say this is where I'd be going. If I was a short, or if I was a market maker, I'd be aiming for right here, like 290s, 280s tomorrow. And like it could go up to, on Monday or Tuesday, fly up. But if I was a market maker trying to make some money, that's where I'd place it. Right there, right under 3. What's max pain though? Like I didn't even look it up. I'm just telling you guys based off like my experience. Let's see. Where is it? Let me see if I can find this. If somebody finds it before me, let me know. Max pain ATER. So max pain's at $3. Shocking, right? How good was that? Didn't even look at it, and I was like, so $3 really means like anything under $3 in my my estimates. So they would love to basically just push the stock right down, even if it's $2.99 at finish. That's where they'd love to have Aterian. Will they get it? I don't know. Might be 310, 315. They might hold it right here where we're at right now, which is like the 320s, right? That we finished 328. So if they could just keep it here, like either one of these, they're going to make a decent chunk. We're just going to see what happens, because if more people start adding these 3s, that's going to be their target to burn. But if all of a sudden more puts come in, right, you might see it hang out up here. So, but right between this like area, that's where I would be if I was a market maker. So, and just so you guys see. Yeah, max pain 3. Stock price 333. Yeah, so there's max pain, then there's max pain for retail. So apparently Tyrion's all the way up to 6% ownership on Fintel. Yeah. All right, so we were looking up, though. Hustle wanted me to take a look at the... Here we go. Where's my mouse? There. We're on the 1 minute, right? He said about 1 o'clock. So here's 1 o'clock. Kind of get to that peak, and then this looks like it's shorting, because those are pretty steep drops. All right, so you wanted to know, when's this algo going to turn off? I'll be honest with you, like I think they're going to keep it on as long as they can. I mean, Ethereum's been something they've been having fun manipulating for a long time because it makes them money. Like, if this didn't make them money, then they wouldn't be playing with it. Yeah, I mean, so this was just like a slow descent. Each time it got a little bit too far away from VWAP, like when it's starting to like run like this, you saw some selling pressure immediately come in to bring it back down to VWAP. So hustle, that's what I think is happening, is anytime this thing gets like diverges away from VWAP too much, it gets just pushed back down. So what I mean by that is Here is your 1 o'clock, right? Is it? No, we're on GameStop. Hold on. There. Right here. We're too far away from VWAP. Algo brings it down. Now we're sitting here in this, like, riding the, what is that? It's a simple moving average, right? Yeah, that's one of the simple moving averages, right? Is that the 200 on the 1 minute? Yeah. So then we go to like the daily, and we're still far away from the daily one, but we want to get back up there. Make that run up again, and then break through and use it as a support, and then run up again. That's going to be the goal. And it's dragging down. I mean, like, here's the thing. It was sitting there at 6 before. Now it's only sitting there at like low 5. So like, as this stock keeps chopping around this low area and it flattens out, it's going to be easier to get to that point on the 200. And that's a very bullish reversal signal for a lot of like technical traders. So Tyrion's going to have its time. So we could be dancing around from 3 to 3:30, like Groundhog's Day, until we get a catalyst. Yeah, so like the catalyst can come in multiple different forms. We can get a piece of news, which with Aterian, that's not very likely. What's more likely is we get some sort of sympathy play where like all the meme stocks are going, and if somebody gets margin called, we go too. That's more likely what would cause us. Or if, for example, some people think the executive order is going to be a thing, it might be, I don't know. Like to me, I read it and didn't think it meant anything, but other people can read that executive order and maybe take a different take on it. So, let's see. Fish said, check. Okay, so Fish sent over some Bloomberg. I will send you some S3 data. Okay, cool. Thanks, Fish. Appreciate it. So Fish gave us this over here, so we can see. Is that right? It's a lot of volume change. Okay, so that is August. Is that a sold put? Is that what that is? That's why it looks different? So I don't know Bloomberg that well, because obviously the only time I ever saw it was when it was posted on GameStop. So I'm just learning how to read this because it's not something I've ever used. Because I didn't go to college and study finance. I kind of been doing this on my own and teaching myself. So I never got to play on a Bloomberg before, which I would imagine, I've heard it's got a bunch of cool features and the data's pretty reliable for the most part. So my thought is maybe that because it's this later color, it's perhaps maybe a sold put. Is that maybe what other people are thinking? Tell me what you guys think. Probably. Okay. Yeah, Fish is in school and he's got access to, or maybe it's just through his job. It's either one. We don't want to get him in trouble, but for whatever reason, he's able to somehow get these to us. So, to us poors. Good thing nobody knows who he is, right? All right. So my guess would be these are probably sold puts because of the color. If so, they got that's a pretty good deal, right? So they get like a decent price for them if that's what they did. What'd they buy? 31 of them. It's pretty sizable, right? What'd they collect on that premium? If somebody wants to look at unusual whales, if they have it, let me know. But if you got 31 of them times 31 Moving on, let's see. So we got some $6 calls. Those should be probably bullish. So that's a good increase there. So people are buying up, it looks like, end of May, June. This is for January 2023, so this is more like a leap. Well, it's less than that, but no. Right? Because it's now what, like, we're not quite halfway through the year. All right, so 750s for June. So somebody's banking on this executive order going through. Not a ton of volume, though, so... But if you look, people are buying more calls than puts. That's been the same case every single day. You can kind of look at each day. You know, people are usually buying, you know, long, or in this case, I think I showed you guys the options chains. Some people are looking to get these, you know, $2 in the monies, and then they'll probably convert them to shares. Looks like that's what's going on here. I mean, it's possible we could get over 350, but we'd have to bring a little bit more volume than we're getting right now. Because what they'll probably do is they'll just do this thing where they always stack up some cheap, like 1-2, you know, penny, like, you know, per contracts on puts, and then they just slide it right back down in, and then they get some right here, and then the next week they can, you know, buy back whatever shares they need to. But it's a cheap way of just basically sliding the stock down a couple, you know, and then they just buy a couple in the money puts, drive down the price, and then they'll get it right there where they'll burn the maximum amount of people. All right. Yeah, if we push up over 350, we could see some covering. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. All right, what are the mechanics behind why a stock likes to fill a gap? I've had a hard time understanding why stocks like to fill previous gaps. Okay, so let's go to, for example, let's go to SPY. Let's go to the daily. Because gaps intraday don't matter, but gaps on the daily matter. So, where is the November election cycle? That was back here, right? All right. So typically what you'll see is, like, when you leave a gap like this, may not be huge, but like the computers basically, and this has to do with areas of liquidity. Because they gap up, they don't actually have a ton of liquidity. Usually what the computers like to do is they like to fill up areas before they move up or down. And so you may see things moving up and down, right? Now, when they start gapping up, though, they may have skipped, like, this area of liquidity. Like, you know, you may have tested it here, but it wasn't a ton of it. But, you know, going from here to up here and not actually filling that gap fully can mean that they're leaving pockets of liquidity, and algos like to fill those pockets of liquidity. So that's kind of the mechanics behind why these algos like to fill these stocks, because they see, if you ever pull up, I can't remember what the indicator is called. It's like on the side here, and you can basically see at the price level how much liquidity there was from the buy side and the sell side. And so if you see like a ton of like just low liquidity gaps, at some point you'll probably go back and fill those at some point. So that's why when people always get excited when the stock gaps up, I'm like, if you're long a stock and it gaps up, it's like a nightmare, because then it's like, oh my God, when's this thing going to fill? So that's always in the back of my head. That's why when people would like cheer, like, oh, we need to gap up, I'm like, no, we don't. Like, because I know a week from now or 2 weeks from now, or, you know, sometimes 6 months or a year from now, we're going to have to go back to that level and test it. And that's not a good feeling. So, Can you explain how warrants affect the stock price? Sure. Warrants basically are just like long call options, but they're dilutive in nature. So at this point right now, Tyrion only has a couple left. They have the ones at 15. There's like around 300,000 of those. So that's really nothing. Then they have ones at 25, which there's about 5 million of them there, and at like 25.10, I think. And then they have the newest ones, but they can't be touched until September 6th of 2022. So those ones are for 320, I think, if I remember the number off the hand. And there's about 7 million of them. But at that point right there, this is where people got all like, oh my God, if we're still sitting here at this level, then what's going to happen? Or is this everything over? Like, no, they get access to 7 million shares, but then you have something else that's going on, which is, I'll show you. Hold on, let me pull up my sheets. Where's my sheets? So many windows open. Hold on. One of these has my sheet on. There it is. I found it. Okay. Let's go back to the main part. All right. So the only warrants that are left that are like unaccounted for right now are the ones at 25, which is very far away. So if we get up to 25, you be very excited. Trust me. Like if we go from 3 to 25, you're going to be like crapping your pants. These ones right here are the most dangerous ones to us, but they're not really that dangerous if you think about it like this, right? So at this point right now, we've accounted for this right here. So what would happen after September, if the stock hasn't moved up from there, what's going to end up happening is these get added to your shares outstanding, which is right here. So you basically take this number plus this number would give you the total shares outstanding, right? That means that if insider ownership doesn't change much, you would minus out the insider ownership, and that would give you your future float. Now, if you want to get your free float, you would find out what your institutional ownership is, and then that would be right there, because now these shares now are accounted for in here too. So you basically take your institutional ownership, if it doesn't change much, and you would add it to your private placement, and that would give you your new institutional ownership. That means your future float would actually be less. So your free float would actually be less than it is currently. Right now, our thing is 29 million, right? But after that private placement goes through, our free float would actually change to 21 million. So our free float would actually go down, because all those warrants would be accounted for and everything would be there. Yes, you are diluted slightly more, but just to show you, the numbers add up once you add these things all up together. These ones right here would equal this, and I double-checked it against this. So it's not as scary as people think, but you also have to remember now there's something that changes, which is Armistice Capital would now own about, I don't know, like whatever 10% of the company, or 9.99% of the company, right? And they own that stock at basically an average price of about 305. So if you want to make money and you're holding the majority of the company, right? You have the largest stake in this entire company. Do you think you want the price to just be chopping around $3 for the rest of your time? No, you want the stock to go up. So what do? You have a vested interest that you owned over basically 10% of this company. You want that stock to go up. And at that point, you have a great reason to back that, because think about it. Like, you now own, was it like 8 million, 10 million shares? Whatever, it's 7 plus that, right? So you own like 12 million shares of the stock, right? At this point. Would you want, and you have an average price of $3 a share. How many of us would love to have an average of 305 right now? I'd love it. So these guys get this stock at 305 a share, and they have 12 million shares in September. Do you think they want the stock to be higher? Yeah, they do. And they have a reason for it now. Now push it up all you want, right? Push that stock as high as you want because we're making money on this. Because if the stock now is $12 a share and we bought it for $3, we're doing really well for our balance sheet. So I don't know why people keep freaking out so much about this. I'm like, you guys just don't understand the long game of how these guys operate. Like, this stock is going to go up again, and they have players that want the stock to go up again. Like, if you look at some of these averages, like Vanguard's got an average of 9, BlackRock's got an average of 16. Like, yeah, Renaissance actually has a good average. Hudson too, but these guys up here want the stock to go back up, like. All right, so let's see. But yeah, like, shares are safe. You can do that. All right, so light is puts and orange is calls. I can't see selling or buying. Yeah. Color change denotes price change. It's lighter to note puts in general. Okay. All right. So, Laura, what are the chances that hedge funds cover during off-exchange dark pools so there won't be a price increase? So, yeah, people have asked this question for GameStop for a long time. Like, what's the chance that this could happen? And the honest answer is they can't really do that. Like, it doesn't quite work in that way. So you can push a lot of stuff off exchange, right? But at the same time, you can't cover like 10 million shares without raising the price of the stock. Like, it can't be done. If you have 10 million shares that you have to buy, that would raise so many flags with the SEC and like other, like, you get in trouble for stuff like that. You have to basically, you can't push everything off exchange. They try to do that anyway, but like, you can see what's happening is it doesn't represent real numbers anymore, and that's why the stock looks really, really messed up because. Yeah, we've covered this before, and I've probably talked about this for a long, long time, but, this is not normal. Like, this here is not a normal thing. How this stock is trading is not normal. You don't trade 1.35 billion shares when you have 100% utilization. Like, these are things that don't happen. Like, that's March 8th. That's when we went 100% utilization. We've traded 1.35 billion shares since that time, and there's no shares available. So, also, why wouldn't hedge funds cover now? It's expensive at this price point. Retail interest aside, so their goal right now, Laura, is they want this stock at zero, and they might have a reason for that. The reason might be is because if you have open positions that were marked incorrectly or, what we would say naked shorts, and I'm not accusing anyone directly, just so, I've been told before I have to watch what I say because I am not qualified to, tell people that somebody is doing something illegal activity. So I will put this as nicely as I can. If somebody hypothetically was to have manipulated the stock and perhaps maybe had done some things that were not exactly legal, the best thing they could do at this point is to get the stock to zero because all this stuff would go away. Because all this information that's in the books of, the brokers and all these things would all go away if they can get the stock to zero. And here's what happens if they can't get the stock to zero. Then pressure starts to build. Right? We already went on reg show here. But if they keep the stock down here at these ranges, and if retail continues to buy, what ends up happening is now there's a large imbalance that they can't control. And this is the same thing that's been going on with GameStop. And we're not at the point where we're having to deal with equity swaps and all this stuff, or at least we don't know that that's what's happening. GameStop, I believe that's probably a more likely story of how they're doing some of the things that they've done to keep, short interest at bay, which is basically they kick the can down the road for months at a time. Sometimes they have these little squeaks that they have to let off the pressure. And, for us, we're not big enough for them to be worried about us, but at the same time, the longer this goes on, like you guys saw, like within 3 days, we've already accounted for 6% of the roughly the money that's in Fintel. And this is people don't like signing up for this. I know, I think, our good friend Kenny from the Discord, he actually went out and was like, I don't want to put my information in this. And there's probably a lot of people like him that own lots and lots of shares, because Kenny owns lots of shares, he said. So, his shares aren't accounted for. I wonder what it would look like if he, added his numbers. But, he said that he's not comfortable putting in, his information and having them watch his trades. So there's probably a lot of people that are out there that have never, signed up with Fintel, and that's fine. That's a prerogative. They don't have to do it. But I would imagine that number's way bigger than we even imagine. So, but off the bat, the fact that we're in 3 days in, we've already moved up past, the biggest one, which was AMC. That's pretty interesting. We're not, and we don't have a large market cap, and we don't have a, huge float. So. Forgive me if you all covered this already, but I saw a post that said the largest trades today were sells of $5 puts for tomorrow and June. So they might have been part of a spread, a spread option. But I was going to say, sorry, I just saw the porn bots. That's maybe why I'm getting flagged, is because we keep saying that word, and they're like, this is not content that's suitable for all of our advertisers. Maybe that's what it is, because I've realized that they started taking my voice and making closed captioning for the videos, I guess. So maybe that's what's part of the problem, is they're getting I keep saying that name, the P-bots, and they might be saying, well, your stuff's not suitable for all audiences. The PB and Jellies X's, yeah. All right, let me go back to this. So selling puts, just for anyone that's new or doesn't know, is bullish. I know this is going to wrinkle people's brains, but so if you buy a call, it's bullish. And that's how most people, that's how most traders know about options. They know if you buy a call, it's bullish, and if you buy a put, it's bearish. And that's true. That's how most of them start with options. But then when you get a little bit further in, you start selling covered calls, which is when you sell a call which is bearish, means that you're willing to put your shares out on the market. That causes downward pressure. And then the other thing that is the opposite, though, is if you sell a put, and I feel like I probably should have a graphic up and explain this, but if you sell a put, they actually will pay you a premium, and you agree that if the stock goes below a certain strike price, that you will buy it no matter what happens. So say, for example, I'm sitting here at, I don't know, let's say I'm sitting here at 6, right? So the stock hit 6. And I said, I'm going to sell a $6 put. That means if by the end of the week, or whenever you sell your put, if whatever the strike date or whatever expiry date and whatever strike price you choose, in this case I'm choosing 6, that means no matter what happens, doesn't matter if the stock's down here at 430s, I have to buy it at 6. But they will pay me a premium to go ahead and take on that option. So, for example, this week, when it started out, I think what was the beginning of this week? What was the first day? The 23rd, right? So on the 23rd right here, I looked at the thing and I said, I'm going to sell a 250 put for this week. So I think they paid me like 50 cents or something, or maybe it was 45 cents, but they paid me a decent chunk for me to sell a 250 call, or sorry, to sell a 250 put. And so I collected a large premium, and we're much higher than 250, which means that I just keep the premium, and that I will not get those shares. So for me, I just made some extra money this week, which I'll buy more shares with. If you do it, for example, for 3, if you're sitting there and the stock's sitting below 3, and you sell a put, that's going to go ahead and say, okay, no matter what happens, I'm willing to buy this stock. And this is a good way of accumulating stocks if you're confident that no matter what happens, you're either going to make money on the premium, or you're going to get issued the shares that you were going to buy anyway at a strike price that you agree to. So, but yeah, that's the idea. So somebody selling $5 puts, I mean, that would mean for them, they are agreeing that no matter what happens, they're going to buy tomorrow's stock price, whether it's $3 or $2.90. They're going to collect that premium, but they could have to buy those shares at those stock prices. So they're either expecting a huge move on Aterian, like a massive move from that would be basically that's not even, that's 5. So it would be basically from down here where we're at right now all the way up to here. That's a massive candle. So do you know what size the order they placed? It's my voice. Cough twice and they'll go away. Actually, I don't really feel like coughing right now. It's interesting. I did try the apple cider thing, and I've got a couple other suggestions that a couple people have written me, which is nice. Thank you guys for those. All right. So this is usually about when we wrap things up. My wife's not home, though, so I don't know. I can go a little bit longer, I guess, because she's out at a work function and the kids are sleeping, so I can hang out with you guys longer. Maybe I'll get myself a drink. You guys want to have a beer? I mean, it's only like 80 of us in here. We're not doing well on the our numbers are dwindling each day. I guess I need to write some DD and get some interest back. It's just, for me, I wanted to write this thing the right way. I'm trying to basically make sure I include all the numbers from the balance sheet, explain, the upside, the downside, just really, present it so people can make their own decision and go, yeah, that's like most people just waiting patiently. Yeah. And I'm sure we've definitely lost some people throughout this this run, but at the same time, this is what we do all the time. When we went from 16 all the way down to 210, the entire time we were just bleeding out some people along the way. And then if you held on long enough, you got that run to 7, and now we're back down to 3. But it will run up again. This stock, every time it gets pushed down under 3, it goes, it's just 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. In our case, it seems like, but we'll get back up there. Because the short's thesis is that this company is going to zero. And Tyrion's already proven to you that they reduce spending. They bulked up their inventory so they don't have to spend as much. And that's something I thought was very interesting off their balance sheet. They still had the $44 million as of, I guess, whatever their last filing was. And you're right, Tussle. I don't think we've lost that many people. We lost some. And it would be naive to think that we didn't lose anybody across this thing. we went from here all the way down to 210. We lost some people, but we still owned a lot of stuff because you know how I know that we owned a lot of shares? I just want to show you this part right here. This is when we hit 100% utilization. In fact, I should probably add a label. Text. March 8th, 100% utilization. And you guys saw what happened to GameStop, who's also 100% utilization since February 8th. So right here, I don't know, can I move that? Shoot, I can't move. It'd be nice if they could move that. But that's close enough, right? Maybe I'll put like a... There. March 8th. 100% utilization. Just... The stat says, just hold your crap. I have to watch what I say because I got flagged last time for inappropriate language or not suitable for all advertisers. So trying to be good about that. Yeah, and that's fine because you know what's beautiful about this is whenever you thin out, only the strongest survive at the end, right? So like at this point right now, we're down to the people who really believe in this play and believe in the DD. And so at this point, if each one of them keeps continuing to add, like we have been, you know, I've been buying each and every week. Eventually, that number starts adding up. Someone I know sold today and chased Redbox at noon. Oh, and so he got killed, didn't he? I mean, he's got a shot if it goes up to 11, you know, to unlock those warrants. But like, he's got to know that those warrants are up there. Please tell him to make sure that he is smart about it. And there's going to be another stock or two that I'm going to call out that I think has a lot of potential. But it's one of those things where like I need to do a little bit more due diligence just to make sure I'm not like, you know, messing up everybody. But there's one that looks super interesting to me, and I'll cover that probably in the next day or two. Let's see. There was 10Q was actually promising. They were referring to the potential risk of inflation and interest rates on the company. They said essentially that 10% interest rate hike would have no impact. Yeah, I mean, his argument was, trust me, it's going to 13. The warrants are at 1150. As soon as it gets up to 1150, they're going to dump all those warrants on them. Like, it's not going to 13. Tell us the stocks before we buy more ATER. Yeah, and that's fine. I was going to say, so I'll go through and I'll actually cover anything else that I'm looking at this point right now. So what I'm planning on doing is anything I'm making on some of these other side ones, because I think I told you guys my house sold. I've been receiving small amounts from my brother in these, you know, he's been able to transfer me like basically like, I think there was a max of 25,000 per week. So I've gotten, you know, a good chunk of change, and I started buying shares at 292, and I was really excited, and I thought I was going to get a lot more, and then we moved up since then. I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I really want to buy in that range. That's where I think right now they're trying to keep the stock in between the 250 and 350, somewhere in between there is where they're basically accumulating. So I'm trying to buy my shares as close as I can to support lines. And so I 292 was my spot where I was picking it. And I was trying to remain patient, and I got a bunch of fills, but I thought it might go slightly lower, and it didn't. So a little bummed out about that because I was going to pick up a lot more than I did. I picked up, I think... How many shares did I get? I think I got an extra 10,000, but I was waiting for more money to transfer over, and then I got the money, and then the stock moved up, and I'm like, I need to get more money, and I need to get the stock price down so I can get more. I mean, if I have to buy it when it's running, that's fine. But I'll just be one of those guys that's slapping the ask and doing all that. Buy more ATER, I told him, but he hasn't traded long enough, so emotions got to him. Yeah, I mean, it happens to the best of us. Especially new traders, they tend to, as soon as there's like despair and they don't understand, like, a bunch of people don't even understand how, the Ortex data reads. They see the numbers going down. They're like, oh, this is over. They hear that warrants are going to be at, September. They don't even know what warrants mean, but they go ahead and say this is doom and gloom and this is going to be over. I just showed you why it's probably even more likely that we move up, because now all of a sudden the guys that have the most to gain are fully vested. Like, yeah, and September's like, it's far away, but it's not that far away. We also have a second quarter's earnings should be in like early August. There's a bunch of things that can happen. We've got the possible executive order, but we also have the fact that like right now somebody's over leveraged in the market. I don't know who it is. We can point fingers at a bunch of different hedge funds, but like there's rumors going around right now that some of these guys are having problems with liquidity. And all it takes is one or two funds to go up. And if they go up, they cause a ripple effect. And that's what happened with GameStop last time. And usually these guys can get away with it. GME is the play. Quit calling this GME 2.0. I've never called it GME 2.0. But I am in GameStop as well. GameStop was struggling today to get over the three. Was it the 133 mark? I kept watching it and I was like, I mean, you would see it bounce and bounce and bounce. Where's my daily? Go to the 1 minute. But yeah, like right on the VWAP, just rejecting. Like I want them to see, and they tried even after hours. No, I don't think Rob's a bot. I think he's basically just someone that's like stumbled upon this and, likes to come in and say, listen, I'm in GameStop. I have a lot of GameStop. And I want GameStop to run very badly. And I want Aterian to run very badly. I've written DD that shows you guys what it is. But I'm just showing you guys right now with GameStop. Had that great thing in the morning, cut through, and then it's been rejecting off VWAP. And I really want to see, but the reason why they're doing this is if you look at the options chains on GameStop, if they go over 335, it's probably going to gamma squeeze. And so they're doing everything they can to keep this under. So what's the bottom for BBAI? So BBAI I like, but they just had that announcement, right, that they're going to add more shares, right, which is why they went down. So this is what people so people are trying to squeeze the stock, which I thought was ridiculous. When I don't, like, no offense to anyone that was doing it, but like there were warrants up here. Like all you need to know is I told people this a while ago, and I guess people forgot but they have warrants. Literally Big Bear AI Holdings warrants, and I have like 10,000s of these things. So I have 10,000 BBAI warrants because I think they're going to be a good long-term company. But people try to squeeze it here with warrants sitting at like 10. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, they let it go up here, even though there were warrants, but then all they had to do was just exercise some warrants and then drop it back down. And so what they did was they announced, I think that they were doing some sort of like, added stuff. So basically what you're going to see is they're going to raise a bunch of cash and then their balance sheet's going to stabilize. And then it's probably going to be roughly in this level. Like, what was the amount of, let me see if I can find that. That way we kind of calculate out the, all right, so let's see. All right, so where was their latest stuff? Notice of effectiveness. Yeah, so they just added, it looks like, about 12 million more shares to their float for BBAI. So what you have to do is you have to calculate then what their new... where is this? They also added notes convertible, though, too. So convertible notes, senior notes that are due by 2026 for another 23 million. So they're going to get a whole bunch of cash, though. So what you need to do then is figure out, with all that dilution, how much is that going to affect share price. Obviously, it affects it a good amount. But I think long term, they're going to be a good stock. And actually, I'll link this to you guys so you guys can read through this if you want. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think anything under, like, basically 100 for GameStop is a buy. I think GameStop right now is buying... Here, I like GameStop, and I like their catalyst that's coming up, which is the stock split. And I think the MACD just crossed over on the daily. So if you look at this like from a technical perspective, yeah, it's got more room to run up. Like you just saw the MACD crossover. I would have loved to buy it here if I was entering it for the first time. I already own a lot of the stock, and my shares are de-rest. I did buy some news shares with some of my stuff, and luckily I was able to get it in the like 105, 110 range when I got my money over. I did buy a couple at like, I think, the high 90s before it like ran. But I recognized what was going on the other day, and I was like, yeah, this is moving up pretty nicely. To enter now, though, I mean, if you bought it 150, hopefully it will go up again tomorrow, and we'll fly past that and break over the 200. But, I mean, they're going to try to suppress the price under 130. That's going to be their goal for tomorrow. I don't know if they're able to, but we'll find out. Because right now, like on the TTM squeeze, they're going to be crossing over, hopefully bullish soon. You'll see on the awesome, it hopefully crosses over. And then, you know, I should have this stochastic, but the MACD's already crossed over. But it's getting a little hot right now on the like rocket, and it's fine on the regular RSI. So I think we're going to see a nice push. So it depends if you're trading or if you're investing. Like if you're investing GameStop, I would be trying to make sure I was trying to get the stock is on these dips. Whenever it dips low, if you know. But you know, this would have been the time to buy in this accumulation phase. Once it's already running, unless you're just trading it, then you know. But you try to get all these nice dips when you can. Like whenever it's anything under basically 100, that's when it's time to buy GameStop, in my opinion. But, you know, not financial advice. African God said that him here, once ATER runs, I'm ending famine. Good stuff. End that famine, dude. End that famine. I don't usually do longs or squeezes, but I've been doing good the last couple of years, and I don't want to risk it with profit, so I'm all ears for plays. Yeah, so it's all depending on what you think some of these things are worth in the real world when they're not being shorted into oblivion. You know, GameStop, you know, obviously was, you know, their business model was a bit stale. But they thought that with Ryan Cohen coming on and hiring and some executives from Amazon and some other things, that eventually GameStop can turn around. And I believe that. I think that's true. I think GameStop could find a niche, and I think it has to do with the future, which I'm hoping that this is what the NFT marketplace and some of this stuff does. If they can figure out a way of integrating some sort of NFT marketplace into gaming, that would be very, very lucrative. If they all of a sudden did that, or even if they did it with some sort of coin, they have different things that they can do. So, and they don't have debt like AMC does. AMC still has a large amount of debt. They've done much better than they did before, but AMC, if I had to pick one out of the two, obviously I'm going to go with GameStop because their balance sheet looks a lot better. I think GameStop, though, has the kind of the brute force. As long as those retail apes just keep buying AMC, it will probably explode again because it's a lower price point. But that's where I think the GME stock split is the neutralizer, because if GameStop all of a sudden goes 5-to-1 split and it's sitting at $100 or wherever it's going to be at whenever the stock split happens, retail can afford those shares a lot better. So yeah, the NFT cards are already coming out. So yeah, I'm keeping up with all the stuff with GameStop, and I'm excited for what their future holds. So that's one of the reasons why I like them long. I can tell you, with Aterian, I think they have the potential of actually turning it around and staying relevant as far as what they need to do, honestly, is they need to make sure that their product lines are profitable and they are maintaining their market share. They also need to find other revenue streams, in my opinion. I think at this point, being solely dependent on China is, China for the longest time was a very reliable trade partner and it was fine, but then they had tariffs added, and then they also had a bunch. So there can be problems working with another country, especially one that we have mixed, background with. It's like a love-hate relationship with the U.S.-China, because we both know we need each other. They need us to buy their goods, and we need them to make the goods. So it's created this partnership of even though we don't like each other, but yeah, Mexico's an option. There's a whole bunch of things, that could happen. But once again, the problem is the government, in Mexico is not as stable, and that's something that they do take into account. But some of these border cities on the U.S.-Mexico border, they're kind of the ideal targets. I worked for a company that moved their shipping to Mexico, and they make their parts in Mexico, and it was right on the border, and they would bring these parts right over the border and get them onto these trucks and then distribute them out to the U.S. Yeah, and Tyrion needs to do a better job mitigating risks. I think you're absolutely right, Hustle. And Hustle is a smart guy. He works sales for a large company, and he actually understands Aterion's business model probably better than I do or anybody else does. So if you ever want to get educated on the business side of what all these guys are dealing with the shipping containers, all that stuff, Hustle is a great resource. He and I have had some conversations on the side, and we said there's things that they can do better, and I think we retail traders obviously have a lot of money invested in them, so we're wanting to see them succeed. So the best thing that we could do as retail is we would basically make sure we support our company. If you own GameStop, make sure you're buying products at GameStop and items at GameStop. If you look at Aterian, if you haven't bought items from Aterian, maybe you should be looking at that. If you were going to buy a chair, maybe I'll get a new chair, and then I can sit in a comfy chair and talk about how great it is. And Rift 6 or whatever that Aterian makes, they said that that's pretty comfy. So if we actually bought some of the stuff that they make, what? You know how you beat on earnings? If you actually have people buying those products. So in your estimation, when will we fill the gaps on SPY from the election cycle? Will Aterian be pulled down that far as well? I'll be honest, I don't think we can go that much further. So, like, you have to remember this. So Aterian puts out their quarterlies, right? So based off quarterlies, our book value is about 323. Guess where we are right now? 328, right? That was today's. So we're sitting here at book value right now. But once you go down a slight bit more, you now are starting to get into the thing where you're trading under book value, and then you have current asset values. And so once you start calculating out current asset values, which is when you have your cash, your accounts receivable, your inventory, all these things, and you can discount some of those and create a number that's pretty realistic for like a liquidation, basically. I'm not saying that the company's doing this. What I'm saying is when you're being priced like that, there's only a certain level you can get to before it gets unrealistic, where literally you would actually make more money liquidating a company than it's actually its market value. So there's only a certain amount that can push it down before other large companies look at them and go, that's too low, and they scoop it up. Like when we moved down here to 210, it didn't last very long before all of a sudden it came back up. It was consolidating, and then it ran, right? So if they leave the stock down here too long, it's going to allow too much accumulation to happen on both, smart money and us. Hustle said he got into Aterian because of a coffee maker and a juicer from Mueller, and then started researching. Yeah. So Aterian actually makes some good products. Like I own a spiralizer that we do zoodles with we grow zucchini in our garden, and we make zucchini noodles, and we got the spiralizer because of that, and they own that company. I bought a squatta potty because, they said it helps you poop better, and it does. So, they also have, I bought a beer fridge from them. But here's the thing, if you need these items or you could use these items, buying from the company through Amazon or whoever would actually help the stock probably more than you buying the shares. And now, granted, everyone wants the shares and everyone wants to make money, but at the same time, if you need these items and you support the company, that's going to be very helpful, because what really shuts up shorts is if the company beats on earnings, and then they don't have as much of a thesis anymore. Because now if this stock is sitting down here at these levels and they're beating on earnings and they still have cash, that's a problem. It's a huge problem for them, because they still have 10 million shares to cover at this point, if not more, depending on how much they might have hid or not hid through the balance sheet. So, or not balance sheet, but the options chains. So just throwing it out there, you don't, and obviously that's not financial advice. That's just talking about products. But if you like a company, you should be buying their products and supporting them. I typically choose to fill up my stuff at ExxonMobil because I have stock in ExxonMobil that my grandfather gave me. I try to make sure I own some Costco. I make sure I go to Costco when I shop and buy in bulk. I have Amazon. I make sure I use Amazon. I don't go to, I have GameStop. I do use GameStop to buy, my games. Let's see. Do you think that the hedge fund that's shorting Aterian is feeling it over when it occurred the last months? Do you think the hedge fund that is shorting Aterian is feeling it over what occurred over the last few months? No, I honestly think we're annoying to them. This Discord, this group is super annoying, because this is a stock that if there wasn't a group kind of holding it together, probably everyone would have sold and the stock would have been at zero. But it's not, and they keep having these run-ups, and they don't like this. This is annoying to them, because it doesn't seem to matter what news comes out, we just buy more. And that's the truth of it. the lower the prices, and everyone hates hearing this, but the lower the prices, the more power retail has. That's a quote from Mark Cuban. We're gnats, and they think that they own a giant swatter. Yeah, they keep swatting at us, and we just keep buying. We're annoying to them. We keep going through those holes. And yeah, some of us get hit down when they swat us, but then the rest of us come back, and we might find some more friends and buy more, and we just we're just going to keep coming at this, Like, I'm a Marine. I don't give up. Like, this is what I do. Like, I'll run into that wall until I either knock it down or I'm dead. Like, that's the truth of it. Like, this stock is going to move at some point, and it's going to move violently, and it's, they've done things on the stock that are not on the up and up. I can tell you that right now. Not accusing any specific person, but I'm just saying I've watched the stock for a long time, and from the naked eye, it looks pretty, or the uneducated naked eye, it kind of looks a little shady. And then the more and more I research into it, the more and more I'm like, yeah, like they've probably sold more, shares at times on this stock than existed. When I'm hearing that brokers were sometimes multiple brokers were sometimes over 1 million shares short on their own brokerage accounts. That's why they're begging you guys for your shares to lend them out, because they need to reset some of their own FTDs. So, do you see the FUD posted on Yahoo? I mean, I don't typically read anything. Like, all that stuff's crap. But let's see. When did it come out? I mean, they posted something a week ago. Is that what you're talking about? Yahoo Finance posted 2 weeks ago about the results. What else did you see posted on Yahoo? Because I don't see anything when I look it up. So, is there something that's more recent? Sort by date. Oh, here we go. Tyrion stock downgraded by Roth Capital. Yeah, Roth's always downgrading us. Price target is now 550. Well, guess what? 550 is still higher than where we are. So, yeah, it's fine. They can have a 550 price target on us. We're sitting here at 330 or 328. Sure. That's totally fine with me. Is that what you're talking about? I see an investor place one from 2 days ago. I see a NASDAQ one. Tyrion is in a downward spiral with little hope of escape. They are pushing up that FUD. That's good. I like it when they do that. If the market goes down, wouldn't that help us? Because shorts might have forced. Yeah, so I mean, if you think that these guys are, yeah. So trust me, you have to realize when you read these articles, they all have bias, right? So what do they need from us? They need our shares. So how do you get those shares? You shake the tree. How do you shake the tree? You have smart people write a bunch of stuff that convinces you that this is a bad idea to invest in the stock. Horrendous first quarter earnings. Yeah, like they weren't that bad. Honestly, like I would have loved to see a revenue beat, but like they only missed revenue by like less than 1%, and they beat on earnings per share. And those are like the two major indicators. And they still have $44 million in cash. Like they're relying on people being stupid, and then just going, well, they sound smart. They must know what they're talking about. Like, that's how this works. They have your average person, right? And they click on the Google and they say Aterian, and then they read the news articles and they go, oh, my buddy told me to buy this thing, and he's an idiot, and these guys are smart, so they sell, right? And then the stock runs at 7 or 8, and they go, well, how I mean, and I'm like, yeah, because they have bias. Like everybody has a bias. Yeah, I mean, this is how the market works. Whenever they tell you that the bottom is here, there's more coming. Right? On the SPY, everyone's like, okay, well, that must have been the bottom back there. You know what that means? There's a huge amount of downside. Right? Look at this. So if this is the bottom, right? Look at that. Boom. This must be the bottom. You know where the bottom is? The bottom's going to be down here or down here. That's what it means. And it may take us a while to get down there to those ones. It's not going to be instantaneously. It's not going to be like tomorrow it goes all the way down there. But what I'm telling you is, if you actually think about it, right? Here's our gaps. Here's where we are, right? We're just breaking out of this down channel. Everything looks great. We might have a run up to 420, and then you know what might happen? They'll find some excuse to drop the market, and then if they do that, it's going to drop hard and fast. Yep. That investor place our author has no experience and lives in Colombia. Like the country. I'll be honest, I haven't read an article written by mainstream media in like months. I don't even honestly listen to them. Like, I have too many other things going on. I choose to look at the numbers and the data and then make my own decisions. I don't listen to other people because they all lie. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't trust anybody on any sort of, like, I go into half Reddit things going, someone's lying about something. And that's like, I know that's very much the like, oh, well, believe me, but don't believe anyone else. You don't have to believe me. Go back and take a look at my like data. Like, I provide all my work in there. It's like, when I do my math, I show my homework. Like, I show how I did it. Like, I don't lie about anything. I'm just calling out data as I see it. And if you don't believe it, and if you don't think my thesis is right, that's totally fine. Like, but yeah, when you have people being paid to write stories, there's a bias there. And there's this bias with me. I have money invested in a stock that I want to see go up. I have a bias also. But I'm trying to be honest about it. Like, if Tyrion comes out and, like, looks like crap, I'm going to have to say, this looks like crap. So, all right. So besides that, though, I heard my wife. She's just got back. So let me go see. They either lie or don't know any better. Too gullible to believe that Wall Street shows them. Yeah, I mean, that's how the market goes. So if everyone's really bearish and tells you that, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, you know what's going to happen? This market's going to run up, and that's exactly what's happened. And then once it runs up and we go, okay, that must have been the bottom, that means that there's more downside. It happens. But I'll cut off my stream now, guys. I'll do my normal thing. I will go ahead and link the Discord. And here we go. So it's free. Everyone is invited. Come hang out with us. There you go. And then I do have a Patreon at some point if we want to make me a full-time streamer so I can just talk to you guys throughout the day. I always put it out there. Nobody's required to. It's just, donations only. All right, here we go. All right, so those two are up, and you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I really will try to get some. I don't know if I'll finish the DD, but I'll try to get it out by Friday. Wait, tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, so I'll try to get it out tomorrow if I can. I've already been working on it. I have it saved as a draft at work, so hopefully I'll be able to get it out. And then we'll have the weekend to kind of digest it, and people can tell me what they think. All right, guys, have a great evening, and I'm going to do some homework. And I've got one other stock that I'm really looking at hard because I think something's going on with it. And I will let anyone that's in the Discord know once I kind of get everything out. So, okay. So you guys have a wonderful evening. And, yeah, if you want to talk further, Zach, you can just jump on the Discord and talk to Hustle there because I'm going to be shutting it down. All right. Night, guys.